Welcome back to the second hour of the program. On the line with us is our old buddy Charles Sauer, the Libertarian economist and president of the Market Institute, the author of the book Profit Motive, What Drives the Things We Do. MarketInstitute.org is the website. Market Institute, the Twitter handle, and also Charles's personal email, or Twitter, excuse me, is at Charles Sauer, S-A-U-E-R. Charles, welcome back. So I'm looking at an article here from The Hill from 2011. The last time the Republicans had control of the Senate. And it starts right out. Senators Lindsey Graham, Rand Paul, and Mike Lee previewed their proposal on Fox News, saying they want to raise the retirement age from 67 to 70. And they want to use the same formula that basically Reagan imposed when in 83 when he raised the retirement age from 65 to 67. And I'm saying we should drop the retirement age down to 60. I call it cash for geezers because it would clean out a lot of old people from the job market and open a lot of space for, you know, millennials and Zoomers to come into the marketplace. And all we'd have to do is just lift this regressive tax cap, and everything would be good. What say you?
Well, I say I want to have your magic credit card that you have. That would be great. I would be able to buy all sorts of stuff that I couldn't afford on my budget today. But with the magic credit card, yeah, it sounds like a great plan. Clear the old people out of the market and just spend freely on whatever you want.
Well, the magic credit card is real simple, Charles. You simply start having multimillionaires, millionaires, billionaires, hell, people who make over $140,000 a year, not even millionaires, pay their fair share of Social Security. Right now, if you make over $140,000 a year, you pay nothing into Social Security. How's that right?
Well, first off, you know that the numbers behind this don't work out, right? So there's two ways that you can raise the limit. You can raise the limit and not give increased benefits to those people, but of course that makes it a welfare plan, and the left has unified around rejecting anything that makes Social Security a welfare model. Or you can continue to pay those people more money, in which case, realistically, you just continue to bankrupt the system because that's all you're doing, especially if you go with the way that the left explains the system, where if you pay in, you get money out.
Wait a minute.
So realistically, raising the caps won't do anything, or it'll turn it into a welfare program. And if you want to do that, then we can talk about it, because we should reduce.
Either we're talking past each other, and you're talking about something that's not what I'm talking about, or I'm misunderstanding you, or what you're saying doesn't make sense. Let me just clarify. Right now, right, if a person makes more than $140,000 a year, more or less, it's $143,000 I think this year. If they make more than that, they no longer have to pay, what is it, 5.6% of their income into Social Security as the Social Security tax, and their employer doesn't have to match it.
Correct.
So what I'm saying is, if we were to capture those literally millions of people who make more than $140,000 a year, the hundreds of thousands who make more than $1 million a year, the 30 or 40,000 who make over $10 million a year, and have all those people pay the same 5.6% or whatever the amount is into Social Security that you know, presumably average people, you and me, pay into Social Security, then there would be enough money in that program to pay for people to retire at 60 instead of 65. That's what I'm saying. Now, the math on that actually, I believe, does work out, number one. But number two, the other effect it would have, and I'm guessing your rebuttal to this would be inflation, but the other effect it would have is by, let's say, half of the people between 60 and 65 would take the choice, take that option, would say, okay, cool, I'll retire now. And that's going to open up lots of jobs at the low end of the job market, or at in terms of age, entry level. And that is going to have a positive effect on raising wages, which, as wages go up, Social Security collections go up, which further enhances the Social Security Trust Fund. What am I missing?
Well, I think the last two conclusions you made we can debate about, but let's put those aside, because I don't think that goes to the point. We do have to agree on one more factoid here, and that's the last 11 trustees reports that have come out of Social Security says that Social Security currently goes into debt, or the taxes that come in for Social Security don't constitute what goes out starting in around 2033 to 35.
As was planned by Reagan.
So we need to do something, not planned about the people that actually, when Social Security was created, but was planned during the Reagan changes. Yes.
Right, but
look,
you know, that was because of the boomers retiring. I mean, you know what, and Reagan was right about this, by the way. It was actually Alan Greenspan and Daniel Patrick Moynihan, but you know, they looked at this demographic bulge, the boomers, you know, the post-war generation coming down the road, and they said, when these people start, this is like you know, the rabbit moving through the python. When these people start retiring, it's going to, you know, the system won't be able to pay for them all. And so what they did was they, you know, raised the tax that they almost doubled the tax that we all pay on Social Security so that the boomers would be essentially double taxed. And they took all that surplus money. At that time in 1983, there was no Social Security trust fund. There was a checking account, basically, and all the money that came in funded all the money that went out. And everything had worked from the 30s up until 83. But looking forward, they said, we're going to need to set aside a couple of $1 trillion for when these people retire. And they have. I mean, there's 2-point-something trillion right now in the Social Security Trust Fund. And the goal is that by the time the last of the boomers die around 2045, that trust fund will be back down to zero and Social Security will be back to pay as you go. That's all. None of that is like anything to be freaked out about. That's how it's supposed to work.
Well, the trust fund is all IOUs. So I want to get back to the first point that you're talking
treasuries
about.
are IOUs. You know, if you think that the treasuries have no value, you know, please buy some and send them to me.
So look, we can talk about all of that later. But if we talk about your solution, which again I call magic money, we have two problems that I see. First off, we have an expanding lifespan. So I would think that you would want to continue raising the retirement age just as our lifespans increase.
Well, maybe in the last 3 years, the lifespan in America has actually gone down, you know, ever since the Trump administration.
we need to deal with the Chicago crime incidents.
No,
I like that.
We both had COVID, frankly.
If you look at COVID things, we all got off the street. The death rates ended up being somewhat flat. And we were going to have some sort of a death rate.
But we lost 1 million
anyways.
people to COVID.
But if we get back to your point, if you are going to increase taxes on rich people for Social Security, okay, I get it. Interesting point. Now you have to figure out where the money is going to go. If the people that are putting the money into Social Security don't get it back, then the left has to admit that it is not a welfare program. If, on the other hand, they get the money back, then it's not going to solve your problem. So you can continue getting money from rich people. First off, it's not going to solve the Social Security problems. And I believe there's multiple papers that point that out. But in order to do it, you have to make Social Security a welfare program. I'm more than happy to agree to that.
Wait a
but
minute.
I don't
Are you
think
saying
the left
that
is going to jump on board?
Are you saying that because any program that rich people pay into it instantly becomes a welfare program, but programs that are only paid into by people who make under $140,000 a year are not welfare programs? I don't understand how you're defining welfare programs here, Charles.
Well, this is currently, if you pay into the system, you get money out. And so rich people, you stop paying at 140,000 because you also stop getting that extra retirement benefit out from it. So you're
so
going
there will
up,
be some
getting
transfer
an
of wealth.
Increased Social Security.
But there's already some transfer of wealth. I mean, you know, people making, you know, most Americans don't make $140,000 a year. The median personal income in the United States is what, 36,000, I think. The median household is around 55, something like that.
Well, if you want to take the median, that's a really bad way to look at it. When Larry Kotlikoff looks at the statistics, he's the one that actually revolutionized this, because if you're young, you're likely making less. And if you're older, hopefully you're making more. So when you're looking at the median, you're honestly looking at somebody who's 35 years old. So that's not a good way to look at the economy. Well, you look at the median rather than we really need to look at the median income of retirees, and then we could have a conversation.
Okay. All right. I thought you were arguing for an average, but
no, a median number on what everybody makes in the economy just doesn't do us any good talking about Social Security.
Well, and the flip side of that, though, is when people start talking about averages, then suddenly you've got Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg totally distorting all the numbers.
No, I agree. This is just it's the time value of, if we're going to talk about retirement, right? We need to talk about what the average is of people retiring, and it's just going to be higher.
Charles, we have 2 minutes till we hit a hard break I can't control. Are you suggesting, are you with the Republicans who are saying, I'm guessing as a libertarian, you think Social Security should not even exist. Are you with the Republicans who are arguing that we should raise the retirement age up to 70 or maybe even higher?
So I guess I want to make a broader point here. And I want to say one of the things that Republicans have pushed over the past couple of decades, and I've disagreed with, is the privatization of Social Security. And that's because you have this weird thing where you now take money out of people's pockets and push it into the markets. But if we're going to have Social Security, I do think the retirement age should be increased. I like it capping at 140,000, but I do think that we should make it more of a welfare program where people that are poorer or further under the, maybe if they're under the poverty level or closer to the poverty level, should get a bigger chunk of the money that goes in there. So if we have this program, that's the way it's going to be distributed. I think that would be great and actually work for our economy better and actually do what the program's supposed to do. I think that the fact that the left keeps talking about this as something that you pay into and you get money out of does a disservice for what it actually works for. And that's helping people that weren't making enough actually afford retirement.
Well,
but let's get rid of the program. I think that'll help everybody out. Studies show that you get more money from people donating if the government isn't taking money in the first place.
In other words, the old Republican or the both Republican and Libertarian refrain that old age poverty should be dealt with by private philanthropy.
Studies show 4x money will go into private philanthropy.
4 times as much? You think suddenly
Correct.
Rich people are going to get generous because there's no more Social Security?
If you look at something like when the tidal wave hit, I just blanked on where the most recent tidal wave is. Right. But when you see these emergencies, money flows in.
Sure, that's an emergency. Well, okay, we're out of time. I'll leave you with the last word. Charles Sauer, marketinstitute.org, Charles Sauer, S-A-U-E-R on Twitter, Market Institute on Twitter. Charles's book, Profit Motive. Charles, thanks so much for dropping by. It's always nice having a rational conversation with you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.